Welcome back, everybody, to another Banter on the Rocks. Got myself, Tim, and John with us tonight. I am back. John did a great job filling in for me last week. It was a really enjoyable episode listening to him go over, pretty much everything with the New Year's, and I thought that he carried himself really well through that, and it was
Thank
a
you, sir.
perfect info,
Thank you.
type pod there. Great job, good sir. Thank you so much. But yeah, back again, healthy. Finally, another bout with sickness this year, but luckily everybody else dodged a bullet and sacrifice. So that's good. I prefer
Yeah.
that. On today's episode, we're going to be talking about NFL takes, playoff preview. Then we're going to be doing some hot takes again. Last time we were on,
Mhm.
we dished out some hot takes for each other. It was a fun little
Yep.
segment. We're going to definitely continue on with that. We have some good ones there for you. We're going to talk about some NBA as well. And then movie and TV award season is among us, and there is some awards we want to talk about and our thoughts behind that. So then also before we continue on, wanted to first bring up about our brand ambassadorship with Find the Good brand. Find the Good gives back 10% of all purchases to Mental Health of America organization. And on top of that, you can use our discount code BANTER805 for an additional 10% off
Mhm.
of your next purchase. So it's a great cause. Get a discount on great clothing. I rock my sweater all the time,
Yep.
especially when I'm sick, because that thing is warm and
It
insulated
is.
and a great product. It's comfortable as hell. So, um, great product, even better cause, as we always say. And, we just love their merch and what they do. So, yeah. And then moving right along into our drinks of the pod here, John.
Hmm.
I'll start off with mine. Today, I know you just went to Disney, but I'm rocking
Yes.
my Ulani cup right
Oh,
now.
nice.
Yeah, well insulated. This bad boy, man, it's good for hot or cold.
Hmm.
And I'm diving into some tequila today, tequila and orange juice. I know it's a staple of yours.
Hmm.
It's delicious, and yeah, loving it.
Nice. Nice.
So
Salute. Yeah, I am rocking the Banter Cup today, and I am doing the same. Tequila and OJ today. It's been a busy week. New Year's was upon us. Like Tim mentioned, I was at Disney this past weekend, and I'm still exhausted from all that walking. So didn't have much to go. I didn't have much time to go buy something else. So sticking with what I had in the fridge of OJ and tequila. So yeah, cheers.
And
It is.
I also wanted to preface my bit of merch here, John. Let's go Flint Tropics,
Yes,
Jackie Moon, baby.
Jackie Moon.
Repping this because this is kind of my official moving on from NFL. I guess I'll still watch it, of course, but
Yeah.
moving on from NFL, I guess just fanship.
Hmm.
This is my way of moving on into some basketball, but
Yeah.
still gonna watch because your Ravens are in it, and I'm curious to
Hmm.
see what they do. Yeah.
Yeah, no, and we'll get into it, and we'll start with the NFL playoffs and just a playoff preview. What we'll do is we'll check out all the games, just give a little bit of insight what we think, and maybe even predict some scores. But we'll start the first game on Saturday is going to be Chargers versus Texans. What are your thoughts, Tim, with that game?
I honestly think this is going to be a pretty easy victory for the Chargers. I just think that they're a more put together team.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, with all the injuries with the Texans and their wide receiver core,
Hmm.
I think it's really hurt them. CJ Stroud's
Hmm.
going obviously through a bit of a sophomore slump.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely going Chargers for this game. Saw that they signed Zeke today. That was a bit
Yes.
of breaking news not too long ago, and don't know if that's going to be a good thing or a bad thing for him.
Hmm.
Don't know how thrilled Fidel is about that either, getting a cowgirl onto his team.
Yeah.
But hey, that they were definitely a predicted team to get him based off of their backfield and
Hmm.
how oftentimes it's been injured. JK is, kind of brittle these days,
Yeah.
unfortunately, with all the tough injuries he's gone through. So I think it's a good overall signing for him, honestly.
Hmm.
And he brings a veteran, talent into the
Hmm.
backfield, and maybe you can get some meaningful touches towards the goal line. So
Yeah. No, for
good
sure.
signing. But yeah, for this matchup, I'm taking the Chargers. How about you, John?
Yeah, same. I have the Chargers. I think Chargers are the better team, the hotter team going into the playoffs. Texans have been on this slump, like you mentioned, CJ Stroud, that sophomore slump. injuries have really hurt their offense. All they have is Nico Collins. They had Tank Dell, Stephon Diggs. They were a fully healthy team. It might be going a different way. But yeah, I have the Chargers. And, do you think the Zeke signing, him not playing much, do you think that's probably going to help Zeke, just have a bit more? And then le correct me, has Zeke been in the playoffs before with the Cowboys? I think he has, right? Because it was Tony Romo, right?
I believe he did once.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
so so
early on in
he
his career, I think is when
yeah.
they made it.
Yeah, so he has some playoff experience, which I think could be really good for the Chargers players. Um, and their coach. I think if you look at head coaches, Chargers head coach is a lot better. Nothing against D'Amico Ryans. I think he's done a great job with Houston. I think they just had a slump this year. So yeah, I have Chargers. I have them winning 24-17. So still a close game, but I think Chargers take it, by at least a touchdown.
There you go. I'll take Chargers 28-17. Go a little bit
28-7.
more than you. I think that they cover a little bit more. I think that they'll play a pretty good game. Harbaugh,
Hmm.
he's well versed in big games. I think he's coming right into a spot he knows really well. And
Yeah.
yeah, kind of like you mentioned, Zeke is going to come in, and I think the biggest thing is meaningful touches,
Yeah.
within goal line situations, and just yeah, he can get
Hmm.
the rock into the end zone. So, and
Yeah.
then hopefully take a little bit of the beating off of guys like JK or
Yeah.
or Herbert, even trying to do some goal line
Yeah.
rushes. So. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun one though, regardless.
Yeah.
And then I see here you have next, John, another AFC matchup.
Hmm.
Your Ravens against the Steelers. So,
Yeah.
what do you think?
That one, it's gonna be a tough game. It's gonna be the third time we see them this season. It happens a lot every playoffs because I think it's always Steelers, Ravens that get out of the AFC North. I think Ravens should win the way they ended the last two games against Houston and then against Cleveland. Defense is on that momentum train of positivity. Great takeaways. We saw a big man interception this last game. Would have wished he would have taken
Yeah,
it for the TD. Would have been
love that.
sweet. Big man celebration. What they said in what is it? The Replacements with Keanu Reeves. That movie.
Yes. Oh,
For
great
me,
movie.
for me, hidden gem movie. Like people don't like it. I enjoy that movie. Um, but yeah, I think
I
this
love
is
that movie.
gonna be a very defensive game. Defense will win it. I think the Ravens defense are on a great streak. I'm happy where they're at, based off how the season's been going. So I have them winning 21-13.
There you go. Yeah, speaking of the replacements real quick, I would love to have the kicker from that movie on the Niners. I know you talked for me, based off of Jake Moody this past week, and I'd love my kicker to smoke some cigs on the field and just
Yeah.
hit field goes right down the middle.
Yes.
So shout out that guy.
Hmm.
But yeah, me too. I have Ravens over Steelers. Scoring wise, I'll take Ravens winning 31-13.
Hmm.
I think that they are going to put up some numbers. I think the Steelers defense, I think that they're probably a little fatigued.
Hmm.
They've been on the field a lot this season altogether and have hung in there for a lot of games for the Steelers. But I just think that Ravens offense is way too good, and I think that they're going to find a way to kind of break away in this game. But
Yeah.
I will say, I feel like this is the matchup the Ravens didn't want.
Hmm.
Obviously, they'd probably much rather face a team like the Texans,
Yeah.
just based off of how they just trounced them, 2 weeks ago, or a
Yeah.
week, yeah, 2 weeks ago. So, yeah, it's going to be a tough game at first, but I do think that they're going to break away. I think Lamar's been way too good this year. I think he's doing
Yeah.
a lot of, um, just he's being smart with the ball is a big
Hmm.
deal too. I think the Steelers always try to take advantage of trying to make him make mistakes, but he's honestly not doing
Hmm.
that this year, and I think we'll just continue to see that. And quite frankly, I want to see Lamar succeed. I want to see
Yeah.
him kind of push through this playoffs and in finally prove people wrong
Hmm.
a lot about him, just saying that he can't win big games. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of really keyed in and interested to see how he does. So
Yeah.
yeah, I'll take him 31-13
Hmm.
over the Steelers. Sticking in the AFC again, we got Bills Broncos.
Yes.
What do you think, John?
That one I think is gonna be a good game. I think on paper, Bill should take this very easily, but this Broncos defense, one of the top defense this year, you can't count them out, can't take them lightly, and Bo Nix has also been playing really well. So this is a team that I think everybody counted out. They didn't even expect in the playoffs, so they have something to prove. I think they're one team that could play spoiler, but I have the Bills winning it. Josh Allen, took us to a fantasy championship, so I'm gonna roll with him until he plays my Ravens, and then I'll go against him. But I have Bills winning 32-30. It's gonna be a really close game in my thought.
Wow, yeah, much closer than I think it's going to be. I think Bills are going to own the Broncos. I'm going like 45-13. I'm going to go
Dang.
big deficit here. I think Joshua is going to turn up against
hmm
the ponies th this next week. I will say Denver surprised a lot of people,
hmm
including myself, no doubt. I think that team is going to be really good for years to come. That defense looks
Yeah.
great. Bo Nix looks really good. But again, this is their first bout in the playoffs.
hmm
They look good against a really terrible Carson Wentz this past week.
Yeah.
So maybe that's just a little vote of confidence going in there,
hmm
having a big win and maybe carrying them through. But I do think it's going to be a pretty lopsided victory in favor of the Bills. I just think that the Bills look so good this year. It's going to be interesting how it comes down to um, Josh Allen and Lamar for the MVP race here at the end.
Yeah.
And uh, yeah, I mean, and I want to see that. I want to see Bills Ravens later down the road too. So
hmm
yeah, it'll be a fun one though. Regardless, maybe a weather game. I haven't looked at the weather there in
Yeah.
Buffalo.
Yeah, I haven't heard. I think there's like a storm right now, but I don't know if it's still gonna be there on
Mm,
Sunday because they got the early game on Sunday, the 10 a.m. game here, West Coast time. So, um,
okay.
we'll see what kind of game it is, you know.
Get
But
your
I
subs.
wouldn't be too concerned with the Broncos because they play Mile High, up in the high
Hmm.
altitude and in the snow. So I don't think the Bills get as
No
much
doubt.
of an advantage as other teams like the Texans or the Chargers that would probably be struggling in that cold weather.
For sure. Maybe it would even help the Broncos a bit more
Mhm.
too with that defense.
Yeah.
Josh plays well, I feel like in cold weather, but it definitely hurts the passing game some,
Yeah.
no matter who you are. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
no, it's interesting.
For sure. Yeah, and then the
See
next
how that one
game,
comes down.
yeah. Yeah, and then the second game on Sunday, Packers versus Eagles. What are your thoughts with that team? With that game?
Eagles dominate, Packers suck. I'm sorry. Christian Watson,
hmm
unfortunately, I think they announced torn ACL today. That's gonna
hmm
hurt him. I don't know. I just don't feel like I feel like the Packers showed glimpses this year.
hmm
But there's just a lot that hasn't flowed well. I feel
Yeah.
like later in the season, Love hasn't looked real great. I think they've relied a lot on Jacobs as well. And then, of course, the injury to Watson takes somebody out of their passing game, and they
hmm
have to kind of put a little bit more on some of their other receivers.
Yeah.
And just the Eagles as a team altogether. Hopefully, yeah, I don't know if Jalen's cleared protocol yet. I know he
Yeah.
was going that
hmm
direction in a positive bout. But it's of course going to depend on how soon he can get out of protocol if
hmm
he's not in it still because he can't do any, I guess, physical activity within
Yeah.
that time. So hopefully he can get back out. Maybe that time away will somewhat help, the
hmm
Packers. But yeah, I think this one's fly, Eagles fly. I think it's going to be like, I'll go 35-21
Okay.
in favor of the Eagles. What do you think?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm on the same boat. I think Eagles will win this. I think Jalen Hurts will play. I've heard he was trending in the right direction, but they were just playing it safe, a week 18 game,
Hmm.
resting the starter. So I think Jalen will play. Um, but yeah, Packers, good team at the beginning of the season, struggled, at the tail end. Jordan Love, I've never really been sold on him just yet. So I have that 21-10, to the Eagles. So I I think Saquon's gonna have a great playoff game, and he's the one that's gonna really take this team to the win for this first round.
I agree. Yeah, I think Saquon's look so
Hmm.
dominant. And then that O-line is just such a good complement to
Hmm.
everything they do. And forget where I heard this, but I heard Jordan Mailata is a higher ranked offensive player than Saquon this year, according to
Oh, really?
PFF.
Hmm.
Yeah, I heard that. I either
Okay.
read it or I heard it somewhere. And I was kind of shocked by that. But then it's like, okay, who's freeing up a lot of the space for Saquon to run this
Yeah.
year? And,
It
I
was
guess the
Jordan.
compliment is there.
Yeah.
I don't doubt it because that dude's an absolute beast.
Yeah.
Props to him. Hell of a singing voice too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Throw that out there too.
Yeah, no, for
Um,
sure.
but yeah, fun fact there for you, John.
Hmm.
Yeah, and then this next game, this one I think arguably could be the most fun out of
Hmm.
this first round, in my opinion. Commanders versus Bucks. I think that this one's going to be pretty even, in my opinion. You have a first
Yeah.
year QB with Jaden Daniels going up against Baker Mayfield and the Bucks. So
Hmm.
I will take Commanders in this game.
Okay.
I'm a big believer in the Commanders team altogether, that defense is clicked. I think that Jaden Daniels still feels like to prove. And I think that there's a lot more in the tank with him. I'm a big believer in him. I think that he has an inch, and I think he's going to carry the Commanders through, but I think this is going to be a really close game. I'll
Hmm.
go 24-21, Commanders,
Okay.
but I
Nice.
think it's going to be a great game, a fun one, and
Hmm.
maybe the most even out of this bunch.
Okay. Yeah.
What do you think,
Yeah,
John?
I think the same. I had it as my highest scoring game of the week. I think they're going to be putting up a lot of points.
Oh, wow.
Two
Hmm.
teams that are on fire. Commanders
Hmm.
played well towards the end. The Bucks, they really had to play the Week 18 game just for seeding and playoffs. So, um, but I am gonna go to Commanders, and I'm sort of going due to family connections, having being Commanders fans, so sort of supporting them. And I have it 38-35, so it's gonna be by a field goal. At last second is my thought and opinion. Um,
There you go.
yeah, it'll be a good game, and then the Monday night game, Vikings versus Rams. What do you think of this game, Tim?
Ooh. Now, I know we kind of talked about this last time I was on with the Rams, and if they're
Hmm.
for real or if they're a scary team.
Hmm.
I think that they're a little bit of that dark horse still, with the veteran talent that they
Yeah.
have. They still have a lot of weapons. Kyron Williams will somehow score in this game. There's no doubt that dude
Yep.
scores like every game he plays. Um, so yeah, definitely take the TD over on him, I feel like. But I will still go Vikings. They didn't
Hmm.
look real great last game, unfortunately, but I
Hmm.
think that defense is one to believe in. I think Darnold has a huge vote of confidence behind him with
Hmm.
that team. I think their coaching is phenomenal. So, yeah, I'll still go Vikings. I do think it's going to be a bit of a lower scoring game, in my
Hmm.
opinion. I'll go 17-14 Vikings. I still think it's going to be close. But I just feel like a lot of these Rams McVay games are just low scoring. They beat them by
Hmm.
3. You cue my
Yeah.
Niners losing by 3 earlier in the year, whatever it was. Stupid. Um, but I do think it's going to be a fun one. But
Hmm.
I do think it is going to be closer than maybe what some will think. Just because I think that the Rams, like I said, they have the veteran talent.
Hmm.
They have a coach who's been there, done that.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be another good game. What do you think, John?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's going to be a tough game overall. It's going to be defensive, but also offense. I think Vikings struggled this last game, and I'm going to say it. It's going to affect them this next game. And I have the Rams
Mm.
upsetting the Vikings 24-21. I think the
Oh, wow.
Rams, Richie's probably going to hate me right now for saying this, but I'm picking the Rams for this one.
I like it. Yeah, no, it's fun. Have a dark horse theme in there.
Hmm.
Yep,
Yeah,
that's
it'll
really
be
good.
good. I think, Darnold has done a lot, but Matt Stafford has been there. He has the weapons just like Darnold does. He has a running back, and this defense has for the Rams has showed. And I think coaching, I think McVay has been playing us during the regular season, playing our parlays of not letting Matthew Stafford, throw yards, saving that arm for this specific game against the Vikings, and most likely against the Lions in the future if they make it past. So, they're gonna need Matt Stafford,
For sure.
Matt his arm.
Well, question for you here, John.
Yeah.
Who's going to lose it for the Vikings? More of an offensive disaster or a defensive?
I think it's going to be defensive. I think they're going to let Cooper
Okay.
Kupp, Puka Nacua get open and just lose it that way. I don't think their offense is going to lose it too much. They got Jay Jettas. Jordan Addison really stepped up this year. Aaron Jones has been playing well, so they got a solid team up there, but I think it's a defense that's sort of gonna choke in the moment because of how they ended the last game against the Lions. Because, like I say, they both teams needed a win, and Lions showed up. Vikings didn't.
Yeah, and maybe because after the last game, Campbell walked up to O'Connell and said, "See you in 2 weeks." Maybe
Hmm.
that's going to be the curse of him too,
Hmm.
because maybe not see you in fucking two
Yeah,
weeks, huh? Just
yeah, yeah.
get beat and get sent home.
Because like I say, the last week of the season, if you're putting your heart out, I think week 18, and you lose. I'm not gonna say it was badly, but I think it was an embarrassing loss the way they lost to the Lions, being that top team.
Yeah.
It's gonna affect them, and like I say, the Rams are one team we've talked about that they're a scary dark horse that they don't look like it on paper. I don't think any of us probably had them in the playoffs this year, but they made it. They found a way, and it's going to be one team to reckon with. So we'll see. I hope I'm wrong. Not just for my sake, for Richie's sake. His sanity. Um, I know if they lose, he's not going to be happy on Modern Warfare if we play. He's going to let it
Yeah.
all out there. So. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, and I think one like follow-up question with the playoffs starting week 18, a lot of people were complaining, teams players not playing, resting week 18, and I sort of want to get your thoughts, Tim, and then I'll sort of share my thoughts. But what do you feel? Do you feel like adding this extra week was sort of is it's a waste or is it still good for football?
I think it's still good for football. I didn't watch much this past weekend because a lot of
Hmm.
the games are pretty garbage. But this happened before, whether it was week 17 or
Hmm.
a week 18. There was always this week. That's why you always finish fantasy playoffs the week before the
Before,
last
yeah.
week of the season because it
Hmm.
ruins everything. So I don't think that makes much of a difference
Hmm.
altogether. And we still had a great game
Hmm.
it didn't turn out to be a great game, but it was a great setup for a game with the
Yeah.
Vikings and Detroit last night. So,
Hmm.
the games are still technically there. But yeah, I mean, no matter what, you're gonna have games like
Hmm.
this because a lot of
Yeah.
playoff picture is gonna be set before then, and
Hmm.
it's not gonna be that big of a deal going into this week. So no, I mean, it's fine. It's just more football.
Hmm.
Which I don't think anybody really complains with. I think we're all a little sad that regular season's over with, except
Yeah.
me because just freaking put a jab in the heart of the Niners and just get the fuck home. Um,
Yeah.
that's how I feel about that. But what
Okay.
do you think, John? Are you okay with how things went?
Yeah, I'm okay with it. And I saw people complaining like, oh, week 18, we shouldn't have it. That's why all these teams sat. But I was like, no, this was happening, like you mentioned, years ago with week 17. Playoff pictures already decided. Some of these teams know, like, I don't need to play, so I'm gonna rest my players. Like, so it's the same thing, you can make it a 12 week league and you're gonna come out with the same. There might be a little bit more scenarios of teams needing to play, but there's gonna be some of those teams that are like, no, I'm already in the playoffs, gotta save myself. Like, why worry about it? So those comments I was hearing, I was like, no, cap, don't believe it. You guys are just, making stuff up, but. I liked it. I didn't mind it. It's an extra week. The Ravens still came out to play. I was surprised we played as much as we did. Zay Flowers, hopefully I haven't really checked in on it. Hopefully he's okay because we're gonna need him. But um, overall, great last week, and excited. I'm excited for the playoffs because my team's in it. I apologize, Tim, for you, but it's the way the cookie crumbles.
That is. I'm just happy it's fucking over with, to be honest with you. And it feels kind of good not having a hand in
hmm
the jar, I guess. It's kind of refreshing in a way.
Yeah.
The stress levels will be down a bit. So
Yeah, you could
it'll be
enjoy these games, not have to worry about your
yeah.
team winning. I can see that piece, but yeah, no, for sure. But yeah, that's our NFL playoff preview. A lot of good games this week. Uh, yeah, I think a lot of it'll be some high scoring games, some great defensive battles. So hopefully we'll see what our predictions what they come out to. But we'll go into our hot takes. And like we mentioned, these are what we like to call it our banter takes, where we're gonna send each other hot takes that we're gonna roll with for the year, the season, a few weeks, whatever it feels. And I'll get started. And so the take for me is the Bengals shouldn't re-sign Jamar Chase or T. Higgins. Good riddance to them both.
Wow. Pretty
That's
serious.
it's a very serious one, you know. If you look at what the Bengals did, 9-8, multiple seasons, and not make the playoffs, like what does that mean? You know, Jamar Chase, triple count crown winner this year. Joe Burrow, the best quarterback you could say for the season, and not making the playoffs.
Yeah.
How do you think Jamar Chase, T. Higgins feel? You know, there's rumors that they want to play again together, but is that really a good thing for the Bengals? You know, they got a tough
No.
division. You know who runs the AFC North. It's the Ravens, so why even try? You know,
There you go.
you got to find a new place to go play and, make history there because, the orange tiger stripes, they don't look good on all players and, hey, T. Higgins might look good and, the powder blues in LA with the Chargers. I think
Ooh.
Jamar Chase,
Mhm.
the purple and black with the Ravens, look amazing. So
Imagine. That'd be
yeah,
crazy.
but yeah,
Get back in the purple.
yeah,
LSU days.
yeah. You got to go back to those old days when you
There
were
you go.
winning. So and the
Yeah.
orange isn't that.
And who's going to pay him? Probably not Cincy. So
No, no, I don't think
Cal.
they're gonna pay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. But yeah, good take.
All right. Boy. All right. My take is here. Um, Jerry Jones had a cameo in Landman last night, and even though I wasn't a fan at first, I would suggest to give to Jerry to give up GM duties on the Cowboys and go 100% into acting. Get your bag acting and let the Cowboys finally be good again. Hey, I respect it. I think that, Jerry's an old Western guy.
hmm
That dude can just, I haven't watched Landman per se,
hmm
but Jerry's on, I'm gonna watch it. You throw him in an old Western even,
Yeah.
throw him in the next Mission Impossible with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
I mean, shoot, the guy can make him agile,
Yeah.
and you can make him Professor X in
Yeah.
X-Men,
Yeah, you could throw Jerry Jones in Nosferatu and be a vampire. The way he looks already
hey,
looks that way, right?
absolutely. Yeah, flush skin, translucent a bit, hey, he's there. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, that's not a bad gig, and maybe it's a distraction.
hmm
Hey, Jerry, yeah, get into acting a bit more, and have him film a movie during the season. Get him away
Yeah.
from the team a bit. Let I guess the big boys go in there and GM
hmm
and kind of have their footprint on the team and take over that baby for him. Yeah, hey, turn in, the GM role for some acting scripts. I think that's a great
hmm
take. And I'm 100% for it, and I think it's needed. So,
Yeah.
yeah, this might go a bit against um
Your take?
what I just had to say right now, John, but
Yeah. Okay.
let's
So Jerry Jones gets a bad rap. I think he's a great GM and will turn this team around with Tubby at the helm. So, Tubby, I heard he has exclusive rights to still is it exclusive rights to still, negotiate with the Cowgirls, and
yeah, I think so.
there,
Even though I
there's a
did
lot.
hear, I'm
The
sorry, I think
Bears.
that's so funny calling him Tubby.
Oh,
But yeah, no, the Bears have
Bears.
interest in him, evidently, which isn't
Yeah.
surprising. The Bears
Yeah.
will just make a terrible decision.
Yeah.
So, yep.
So, but I would say Jerry Jones maybe does get a bad rap sometimes. Um, I think he's done a great GM work in the past. I think currently you could say he is a good GM. He has Micah Parsons, he has a good defense. He paid CD Lamb, so you can't say he's terrible because he kept the, you know, top wide receiver when I think a lot of us would say um, he was going to lose him. So, you can't give him a bad rap because he has kept some of these prolific star players um, on the team. So he may turn it around with a different Tubby on the team, though, I will say. Because,
Oh,
Tubby, who could Tubby
wow.
be? There's a lot of Tubbies, I think, in the NFL.
Do, there is, yeah. And I
Hmm.
heard that Cowboy buffet is really good.
Hey.
Just rumor mill, of course.
That's what I've heard.
You know, does he hold on to Gingers longer or Tubbies?
Um, think he holds on to Tubbies longer. In Dallas, it gets a little cold during
Ah,
the off season. You need
true.
that tubbiness, the gingers. They're a little scary sometimes.
Yeah.
So, I think he likes him for good luck at times, but when they don't give him luck, I think he moves
Yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, hey, good take though. And as an NFC fan of another team in the NFC, great take. Keep him.
Yeah. No, yeah. Keep him,
Bloody
man. And like
GM.
I say, having the Tubby on the team, we'll pay for those buffets, and that buffet money goes to Jerry Jones. So why not keep him?
Yep, absolutely. All right, so my next take here. Um, there's been many trends in the last few years that inflate the market and resale market. It started with Jordans and shoes where you can't get any new pairs without bots and have to pay 200 plus percent increase for a pair of shoes. We then had Pokemon and sports cards. The next trend that will happen is going to be books that resellers will destroy. All right. Yeah. Hey, if you want to get educated, go buy a book. I mean, it's just fact. And you know, book collecting, let me put it here. I don't read a ton of books, to be honest with you. I'm a big fan of picture books, of course. But I will say is that there's this guy on TikTok and he's a bit of a historian, I guess,
Hmm.
but just seems to have an infinite amount of money. God knows how. I don't know. Maybe he's just been doing it for years. But the dude has like these books that are just absolute relics.
Hmm.
And, he has books signed by Shakespeare, or he has,
Hmm.
copies of books that are signed by presidents, or, they've been through God knows a war. I don't know.
Hmm.
But the guy has it. So, just I books, hey, paperback, hardback, trade them all,
Yeah.
collect them. Hey, my most recent book purchase was actually Kobe Bryant's book.
Yeah.
And I bought it for a couple of reasons. One, love Kobe, and just Mamba mentality.
Hmm.
And the book went over Mamba mentality. Had a lot of pictures and
Yeah.
big font and print, easy read, um, which I appreciate. But hey, it's almost turns into a collector's item.
Hmm.
I had to buy it second market, but I got it for a decent deal.
Hmm.
And hey, you have that and say they stop printing a certain book like they have for many, and you're
Hmm.
holding on to that and resell it.
Yeah.
books can become a lot, and it's material items just like Pokemon cards, or you go out and you get sports trading cards, the shoe market as
Hmm.
well. You can't wear those sneaks, don't put a crease in them.
Hmm.
Um, so, look at John and his background. He has
Yep.
quite a bit going on behind him, and he knows all about that. So, um, yeah, I think that that could be it. And then, if it goes to that point, um, they're gonna destroy books. Yeah, it's just gonna who wants to read at that point? Maybe get
Yep.
some ebooks going. Uh,
Hmm.
I should read more. Um, but maybe my way of doing it is just being on the phone and read, you know.
Yeah.
It's and a lot of times I will say, sorry, I'm kind of elaborating a lot
No,
here on
yeah.
this great hot take. My parents always said they were surprised where I got my vocabulary at a young age because they knew I didn't like to read too much.
Yeah.
And, really all it came down to was just stealing the sports section of the newspaper and
Hmm.
reading that bad boy and just going over a bunch of statistics all day and
Yeah.
did the job. You're reading what professional reporters are writing, and that's it.
Yeah.
So you're reading more than you ever know. But hey, yeah, let's see if they
Hmm.
destroy books, huh, John?
Well, we'll
It could
see.
be pretty
Yeah,
serious.
and I think a follow-up question. Reselling,
Yeah.
people inflating the markets. Do you enjoy it? Are you a little frustrated with it? Do you think it's good? What are your thoughts about this? Especially, I think right now the big thing, sports cards, Pokemon cards, to buy a box, you gotta, back in the day, you would pay $10 for, a hobby box. Now you gotta pay 400 or 500 bucks, and that's just out of retail. Paying secondhand, you're paying 1 to 2K.
Yeah, no, I think it's really disappointing and borderline embarrassing at times. When you have like grown adults fighting over Pokemon boxes at Costco. I
Oh
saw a
yeah.
video of that recently. It's like, gee, you're like 40, 50 years old. Be appropriate. Just
Yeah.
freaking grab a box and be good to other people.
Yeah.
Grab two boxes if you want. Resell one, keep the other for yourself.
Hmm.
But it's kind of turned something that's like a hobby to get kids into something. What
Hmm.
sports, for example. I feel like trading cards were a great
Hmm.
hobby to get, kids involved in the game, and
Hmm.
no matter what sport it was, NBA, NFL,
Hmm.
MLB. Um, and just kind of get to know names, get to know the
Hmm.
history of the sport, and of course that there's a value associated with
Hmm.
it. And then now we see articles of these big resellers going through and using x-rays to scan through of a
Oh
bunch of
my
different
gosh.
boxes and finding which one has the gem
Weighing
in
the
it. And
boxes.
yeah, I think that's total garbage. I think it
Hmm.
just ruins from the true spirit of the mystery behind what
Hmm.
do you have in that box. I think
Yeah.
I think the kind of like your endorphins get going based off of the unknown. And
Hmm.
it's like, man, imagine if I pull an autographed Otani card right now
Yeah.
or something. Who knows?
Hmm.
I think that's what most of the fun is just the
Hmm.
anticipation. And then everybody, of course, has to go get a graded card. It's changed a ton. If I'm buying single cards, I prefer to buy them graded. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong. I think that's a
Yeah.
great way to go and it authenticates it. But I just think that a lot of these resellers who just have a ton more money than maybe an average Joe does,
Hmm.
and just the lengths that they can go to secure good boxes
Hmm.
deflates a lot of it, and it's not as fun knowing that that's out there.
Yeah.
But what do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm disappointed with it. It's almost with the shoes. Like I say, these are all shoes I've won, from raffles and things. I've been lucky quite a bit. I will say I have a bunch of accounts, but I don't do bots. But with the card market, like I say, it's a hobby I've always enjoyed doing. Stopped it for a while, trying to get back into it. And like you said, I enjoy the chase. I enjoy opening up packs and hoping I get one of those autographs, a one of one card, the kabooms, the downtowns, which it's very hard to get where, for me, it's not really. I will look into reselling them, but it's also something I want to keep for myself. A lot of the cards I have are personal collections. So I think it's unfortunate, like you mentioned, it's for the kids, it really helps kids get into the sport, get into a hobby and a good hobby because, outside of this card, trading cards, we've seen a lot of these kids, I've seen videos on YouTube of kids going to 7-Elevens and just like rating them, stuff like that. And I'm like, I don't want my kid to be doing that. I'd rather have him have this type of hobby. Yes, it's a little nerdy, but it's a safe hobby and it's a fun hobby. But the pricing, it'll break the bank. Um, but yeah, but for me, for real, shout out to those, resellers and those collectors that do give back to the kids. I see a lot of videos of, some of these resellers
Mhm.
giving some, even like graded cards to kids who are learning to collect and making their day and, seeing how happy they are. It's that feeling I have when I open up an awesome card and I'm just so stoked to have it. That's what I like to get out of it. It's not really about making money for me. It's just about the collecting and the chase. So I hope it changes, but I doubt it.
Yeah, I guess another positive note too is just the availability of it.
Hmm.
Yeah, I feel like cards, Target, big box retailers, they're not selling quite as quick as they used to. So the
Yeah.
availability is there. I was
Yeah.
just there actually yesterday and I thought about buying a box. I didn't, but the availability is definitely there.
Hmm.
It's good to see that. I feel like
Yeah.
for a while there was a bit of a drought and you
Hmm.
couldn't find it quite as often, but shipments are definitely going in and
Yeah.
they're more accessible at times. So that's
Yeah.
a positive note to it all, for sure.
Yeah.
Um, let's see. I do have one more here for you.
Okay.
Uh, or I heard you had another hot take.
One more hot take.
Yeah, I heard you totally had one.
This is the last season the Ravens have to win a Super Bowl. Um,
Oh, wow.
I won't disagree with it because there's a lot of s- there's a lot that goes on with being in the Super Bowl, being in the playoffs, and we could see what's happening with the 49ers. 49ers went to two Super Bowls, lost two Super Bowls to
Touche.
the same team. And now the rumors are that they're not going to make it back again in a while because they have to pay Brock Purdy. And I think the Ravens are possibly in the same boat where if they don't perform this year, there could be a lot of changes coming. And, you look at all these conferences, there's teams that we didn't think were going to make it that made it. So you can't just rely on what you've had in the past. So I think it is a must-win season for the Ravens. I think they have the team to win and beat all these other teams. I, you know, I think the one danger I feel is the Bills. I think the Chiefs, they're just lucky. Let's hope they stop getting lucky. These 2 weeks off they've had, hopefully it really hurts them.
Yep.
But yeah, I totally agree. I think it is their last season. We've seen it with some of these other teams that are no longer relevant, like, those people up north above me right now. So
Seattle. Seattle.
Seattle.
Yep.
Seattle is one too. The
No, I completely agree. And I feel like that's the Niners are same boat.
hmm
It's you're definitely not wrong. And I think that's a lot of what comes to
hmm
mind with that scenario of hey, you got to think of what you got right now. And
hmm
I guess in the Ravens standpoint, the biggest thing you got to think about is this Lamar's best season he's ever
hmm
gonna have. You never know.
Yeah.
And I believe that he still has so much more in the tank,
hmm
honestly. But I think when it comes to a guy like Derrick Henry, I think that's a big question mark. He's
hmm
already going to be, I think he is 31 currently,
Yeah.
and he has so much mileage under
hmm
him with just his whole career
Yeah.
altogether. The dude's like he's like a early 2000s F-150 at this point, but put enough mods on it, that dude's still like trucking and
Yes.
going crazy. But um yeah, but he's up there. We're all human.
hmm
So, it's no matter, how much, you put into yourself, you're still getting up there in age. So,
Yeah.
yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. I think
And we'll
that's
see
a,
what
a,
happens.
a good thing.
It is a good take. It's a real take.
Hmm.
But yeah,
Yeah,
those are our
exactly.
banter takes. Like I say, we We'll roll by them. We'll see how they pan out. But a few other NFL takes. One, Saquon this past week not getting on the field, in reach of that NFL rushing record. Um, what are your thoughts, Tim, of the Eagles not playing him and him not even getting a chance?
Idiots. Should have broke the record. No, I'm just playing. I do think it was smart. You kind of put the team
Hmm.
into the balance of what's more important, the team aspect of winning a Super Bowl again or going after an individual record. I think that takes a ton of sacrifice on
Hmm.
Saquon's part because he even mentioned himself, who knows if he's going to be back in this position ever again.
Hmm.
And, you know, the next nearest person who's done this is AP. So, and he came even closer. But yeah, but when you're going for a record like that, you're changing up quite a bit. You're playing your whole O line
Hmm.
again, so that puts all of those guys at risk
Hmm.
as well. So too much risk, and I think it's a smart play. I think it's a bummer though because I think a lot of us probably would have wanted to see him,
Hmm.
especially. I mean, personally, I would have loved to see it because I don't know why. I don't like that Joe Schoen guy with the Giants. I think that
Yeah.
guy's a Nimrod. And I think if Saquon, if him going to back to New York and running for like what 200 yards or whatever he
Hmm.
did when he played against them, if that wasn't enough, it would be breaking the record right away
Hmm.
once he's gone.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just think that would have been more
Hmm.
salt on the wound. Um, but again, it's the Eagles, and uh, these nobody, unless you're an Eagles fan. Um, but yeah, it's a smart play. Is just what it comes down to.
Hmm.
I just think it's necessary, and
Yeah.
just you got to look at the rest of what week 18 even was.
Hmm.
It wasn't great for a bunch of starters. So,
Hmm.
what do you think, John?
Yeah, I think it was a smart play, but I also think it was a dumb. Like I said, I don't think Saquon's ever gonna get this chance again. And to be honest, I don't think the Eagles are that great of a team to win a Super Bowl, so I don't think it's really I know the Eagle fans are gonna hate me right now. They're gonna fucking come at me. But I don't
Yep.
think they're gonna do it. I don't think they're the team this year. Their offensive line is good, Saquon's good, but Jalen Hurts is their question mark for me, and their defense as well. They are a rowdy bunch, and they're gonna make mistakes that are gonna cost them. Someone's gonna get ejected. So I don't think they're even winning it. So that's why I would have felt, Saquon should have gotten this chance to at least break this record. And like you mentioned, against the Giants, it would have been sweet. Rumor has it, Shown and Dabble, they're gonna still get another year. I think if Saquon would have played, ran, gotten the record, they would have been fired immediately. So I would have wanted to see
Hmm.
that because this would have been a full circle moment, from the hard knocks during the, off season. So that's my thought, bummer because I think it's a record that may never be broken or never get close again for quite a few years. So, um, unfortunate, but I also get it.
Yeah, I just came down to the smart play. I don't disagree with you though
Hmm.
with the Eagles in this playoffs, and yeah, I don't think that they're the it team either. I think that anybody in the AFC will beat them, especially the Lions. I know the
Yeah.
Lions are in the NFC, but it's even to get to an AFC
Hmm.
team in the Super Bowl. I just yeah, there's a lot of teams that could beat them.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think the Eagles
Hmm.
are hidden by an easy schedule.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I
Yeah,
don't think
for
that
sure.
they're all that. And I'm not a big fan of Sirianni. I think
Yeah.
that guy's just I don't know. He's focused on too much extracurriculars with the fans.
Yeah. He's focused on what people think about him, his perception in the media, being that tough, like hard-nosed coach when you don't need to do all that. Look at Mike Tomlin, one of the greatest coaches and just a chill guy.
Yep.
You don't need to be that way. So, yeah, not a Sirianni fan. I think if they don't win it, he might be out. So, we'll see who coaches the Eagles next.
Hey, yeah, in I guess a follow-up question for you here, John. Uh Howie Roseman, right? Is his name? Howie
Yeah, I
Roseman,
think so.
GM for Philly. Yeah.
Hmm.
Um somebody, I think it was, God, I might be totally wrong on this. It might have been like Mike Florio or somebody had mentioned this. Could have been somebody with ESPN, Fox News, who knows. Um Put it out there of a scenario where Howie Roseman leaves Philly to go to the New York Jets and is given a percentage of ownership with the Jets, along with complete control of the GM position there
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
next head coach of that team. Um, if you are the owner of the Jets, do you offer something like that to Roseman to get him there? Or is there maybe another GM that comes to mind regarding that, or is that not something you would do?
I would consider it just because what he's done in Philadelphia, he has brought a Super Bowl. He has built these playoff teams. So it wouldn't be a bad idea because the Jets are just a dumpster fire. I think they hold the record for the longest playoff drought now, or they've held the
Mhm.
record. So there needs to be a change, and I think if they're the first team to try it, and if this works, it could be something that happens to other teams that are struggling, the Panthers, the Saints, teams that aren't performing. So it'd be interesting. I don't think any of these owners would ever give up any percentage of their, I'll call it their babies, because that's what they all sort of make it seem like. These are their children. They love these
Mhm.
NFL teams more than their own children. So I think it'd be hard, but I think
Jerry
it'd be
Jones.
an Jerry Jones. I think it'd be a very interesting take, an interesting thing if they actually do it.
For sure. I just one name
Hmm.
I would throw out there. This is totally outlandish of me. But say like John Lynch gets
Hmm.
fired or whatever, and Kyle Shanahan goes with him. Let's just say random situation
Hmm.
here. Theo Epstein. Let's bring him in. That dude's like broken two curses in baseball
Hmm.
and just knows financially how to develop a team and
Hmm.
an eye for talent. Granted, it was baseball. I don't know. I feel like he could do the same freaking thing for
You could.
football. I
Hmm.
just think that dude is just an absolute guru, and I would
Hmm.
I would throw a lot at him to try to get him within my organization. I
Hmm.
mean, sports are sports, contracts are contracts.
Hmm.
Of course, it varies a little bit, and the
Yeah.
talent you're looking for, but man, that dude knows ball. It's just
Yeah.
regardless.
Yeah, and
Uh,
that'd be very interesting because yeah, Theo Epstein has done a lot, Red Sox, Cubs, and
mhm.
like you say, ball is ball. What he does is also analytical work, which he just needs to look at stats. He doesn't need to really know about players, he develops those people around him to be those ears, those give them that insight of the NFL piece, and financially. That'd be a very interesting take, and thought, Theo
Yeah, I
Epstein.
don't know if has there. Yeah, I don't think there's ever been a scenario where you have a GM in
No,
one sport and go to another, right?
no, I don't know. Not that I'm aware of. I think this would be a first,
Yeah.
and I think I think it's something a team should try. I don't think it would hurt.
Yeah. I mean, if you're,
Yeah.
if you're like the Jets, your fan base is kind of
Hmm.
turning on you.
Hmm.
You're rumored to have your kids go off of Madden ratings,
Yeah.
whether or not to make a trade or not.
Yep.
That's been denied. Sorry, that's just
Mhm.
allegations, I guess.
Yeah.
Um, but you're in a predicament like that. I
Mhm.
mean, honestly, what's 95% of an NFL team these days? It's billions. It's still billions,
Mhm.
billions and upon billions. You
Mhm.
throw 5% at a guy like Theo Epstein, why not just give it a shot? What
Mhm.
worse could go wrong? And then
Yeah.
at least you're kind of thinking outside the box here.
Mhm.
it's something new. I mean, you have an analytical guy like you mentioned.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a shot. I mean, GM's and GM, he knows ball.
Hmm.
Hey,
Yeah.
bring him in. And everybody watches football. Everybody
Hmm.
knows football. So,
Yeah.
at least it shows some type of innovation. And I
Hmm.
feel like if I were a Jets fan, I'd be like, oh, sweet. This is something new. Nobody's ever done this
Hmm.
before. Maybe it's a true shot at something. It
Yeah.
gives somewhat of some hope. And then just get the hell rid of Aaron Rodgers and Devontae
Yeah.
Adams. Let him walk.
Oh yeah.
It's crazy.
That'd be a good one. I think if Theo Epstein goes to a team though, it'd be the Patriots or the Bears just because of the history in those cities. He helped already. And with
Hey,
the Bears, it wouldn't be a bad
either or,
idea.
right?
Hmm.
No, yeah. Ryan Poles, get him out of there.
Yeah.
I've heard things about Ryan Poles getting worried about who's going to sign at head coach because they're going to go, the head coach that comes in is going to have more ball knowledge than he does, and he's
Yeah.
going to want to kick him out. So, I mean, hey, maybe
Hmm.
he's, we talked about chopping block on an episode here a few months ago.
Yeah.
So you never know.
Yeah.
He's on there.
I, I truly think we could do a better job running the Jets, as GM, co-GMs right here. We'll take
Sign
that
us
team to the
up.
promised land, you know.
Hell yeah. I'd move back east for that in a heartbeat. Let's go, John.
Yeah. Yeah.
How
Well,
about it?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Jets, you
let's
hearing
go.
it? Give us a chance. We'll show you what we could do.
Just don't even give us the role even. Just give us
Yeah.
like assistant jobs, but we'll have a good say in there.
Yeah.
We won't run Madden simulators or anything.
Yeah.
Just
Nah, we'll
yeah,
we'll make
we'll know
sure
what's
our
up.
coach doesn't do that either.
Yeah, and
Uh,
most of all, we'll bring good vibes. It's come
Positive
join our
vibes.
team, bro. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be great. Get them on the pod. Yeah, still
Yeah,
hold the pod every
for
week and
sure. Yeah.
down. Let's go, John.
Yeah. Yeah, let's do that. But yeah, I think one of the things that happened with the Jets that we would have to look at is coaching, and there were some coaching fires. I think
Yep.
it was called Black Monday today. We lost two coaches. Any
Yep.
surprises of coaches that have been fired, Tim, or thoughts of who's next on the chopping block?
They go of Mayo pretty quickly. I'm not really that surprised with it. Because Vrabel's out there, and I do think Vrabel's going
Hmm.
to be the next New England Patriots head coach.
Hmm.
Um, so that's there. And I guess he interviewed with the Jets. I just don't think that's going to be a thing.
Hmm.
I think he's going to go Patriots. And then it just depends on what the Jets do. A big name with the Jets right now is Rex Ryan.
Hmm.
I guess that dude is 150% positive he's going to get the job. Um, I based off of what's out there, maybe wasn't he the coach
Hmm.
of the last Jets team that went to the playoffs?
Hmm.
So
The Mark
it's
Sanchez
not like
era.
you're not really doing wrong. The dude just,
Hmm.
I don't know. Yeah, he's bringing in some new teeth with him.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that makes a difference.
Could.
But yeah, and then the other name is the Bears. And if Notre Dame keeps winning, I'm still holding on to my Marcus Freeman take.
Hmm.
I'm telling you that right now. If they keep going, I think that's an interesting name over there. And it's a new coach, so I think that's kind of a safe bet for a guy like Ryan Poles versus bringing
Hmm.
in like a guy like Ben Johnson, who maybe has a little bit more elite ball knowledge
Yeah.
with success in the NFL already. But regardless, yeah, I guess we'll see what happens. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I think the one I was surprised, I thought they were going to give him more of a chance was Mayo. I thought New England
Mhm.
was gonna just give him another year, sort of check it out. But like you make the point of Vrabel being out there, a past Patriot, so also has the history, just like Mayo. So that was the one surprise. Not really sure who's next. I've heard a lot of rumors of a lot of coaches on the chopping block. But like I said, I thought Brian Dabble was going to be one, but from the sounds of it, he's stuck. He's in New York still. He's a Giant for a while. I don't think the Giant fans are happy. I think they wanted the changes there. Peterson, I think we called it from the beginning of the season. He was going to be out. He's out. Um, you know. We'll see Cardinals coach Gannon, I think it is. I think he could be on the chopping block. They had the potential of
Hmm.
making the playoffs and just losing it the way they did. That's what sort of gets coaches fired. So we'll see who's next. It could be a season of a lot of new head coaches, but like I said, I think we sort of got to wait till the playoffs are over and then we'll see a lot of action.
Yeah, yeah. Raiders Antonio Pierce is another one.
Hmm.
Let's see what happens there. I know
Yeah.
you'd give him another year just to see what happens
Hmm.
with, the quarterback signings, and
Hmm.
I don't doubt that. Give some of these coaches some time too.
Hmm.
I don't think the expectations were humongous for
Yeah.
the Raiders this year. So, um, yeah, and there was one the case with Dable, that's I'm not surprised with them sticking with him a little
Hmm.
bit longer. I think that's the better move compared to
Hmm.
keeping Joe Schoen another
Yeah.
year. Like I said earlier, I'm just not a fan of the guy. I don't know what it
Yeah.
is. It's probably just that whole video and me feeling annoyed for Giants fans with that.
Yeah.
Um, the biggest atrocity in all of this, though, is the Jaguars holding on to Trent Baalke. I fucking hate that guy. Why you re-sign your quarterback who hasn't proven, I'm sorry, jack shit
Yeah.
to an extraordinary amount of money, and what a surprise. He doesn't
Hmm.
perform this year again,
Yeah.
injury or not. I
Hmm.
hope he's doing well,
Hmm.
but that that was terrible. I
Hmm.
They have to get rid of Balky because that guy's not going to get better. He never
Hmm.
did with the Niners, and the Jags will forever be a poverty franchise
Hmm.
if he's there. I promise you. That dude will
Yeah.
not bring anybody good. The Jags will. It'll shock me if they win more than 5 games next year. I'm putting it out there now. I think Carolina will be far superior,
Yeah, they are.
compared to a
Hmm.
team like them. If we're just going off of, low ball
Hmm.
teams, I think the Colts will be a better team in the division. I think the Texans will continue to be a better team in that
Hmm.
division. I think the Titans will begin to outperform them if they go for a
Hmm.
quarterback here early on.
Yeah.
Um, I just think the Jags are just going to be awful.
Hmm.
And I'm sorry. I'm going on a Trent Baalke rant, which is totally random. I hate what he did with my Niners for years upon years.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm sorry, Jags fans. You guys are going to deal with some
Hmm.
crap teams
Yeah.
with him.
And,
Yeah.
and if you remember your hot take, Jaguars are going to sign Brock Purdy to a max contract extension. So good luck having two QBs at that
Yeah.
price. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm just waiting on what's his face? To Daniel Jones, Danny Dimes. Let's
Hmm.
go. Join my Niners,
Yeah.
1 year deal.
Yeah. 1 year deal. 1 year prove it deal.
Put him out there. Yeah, and then we just go for a running back,
Yeah.
and go from there. I think that's great. But yeah, no, I overall I think that's the biggest thing I have
Hmm.
going. I do say, who else is out there that the Cardinals, I think they keep Gannon.
Hmm.
Um, I think that there's a lot to still develop there, and that's his biggest talking point. And I think that
Hmm.
in general, they outperformed what
Yeah.
they did previously. Um, I think the Raiders, Antonio Pierce is a big if at the moment.
Hmm.
Indianapolis doesn't look too great, but I think they still stick on to what they have there. Um, yeah, yeah, the Saints are another team looking for a head coach, right?
I think
I
so.
wonder what they're gonna do.
Hmm.
And there's rumors of them bringing back guys like Derek Carr, right? And
Hmm.
Kamara's still there.
Yeah.
What do you think? Who would be a good fit there based off of the market, you feel like, John?
I I don't know because I think it just depends if they do re-sign Derek Carr, if they continue with him. Um, they're I'm curious to see what this market's going to look like. I'm curious to see what college coaches are going to come up. Like you said, Marcus Freeman is the one I'm hoping to see in the NFL. Like I said, I'm a fan of Notre Dame.
Yeah.
Um, I think Cliff Clinsbury is going to get another chance, I think. I just don't know where. Um, but I we'll see, And I think the big thing I'm sort of waiting to see is with this draft, whoever signs, Sanders if Deion Sanders is going to make the move as well. Because, like I said, that's the rumors. Deion says he isn't, but he's not gonna pass up that money.
No, imagine, let's just say McCarthy gets signed by the Bears
Hmm.
with his
Yeah,
upcoming interview there. That's an open cowboy position. That is a very
yeah,
sought after position, being a former player there.
yeah.
Man, hey, I think Jerry Jones goes big on Dion.
Hmm.
And, imagine they make a deal throwing Dak out there and trying to absorb a top pick and
Hmm.
go for a guy like Travis Hunter or, Shadir
Yeah.
to
Cam
be
Cam Ward,
the next
you know.
Cam Ward. Absolutely. I
Hmm.
think regardless of him teaming up with his son, I think going back to Dallas and becoming head coach there. And
Hmm.
I think that would probably be the best move Jerry's made
Hmm.
in decades, to be
Yeah.
honest with you. So,
Yeah.
um,
That's why you can't
I
count out Jerry Jones as a solid GM, Tim.
that's right. Yeah, you can't count him out as being a solid actor as well.
Yeah, yeah.
Just he's just a well-rounded guy,
He is.
It's just yeah,
Oh,
but
man.
maybe it takes something like that to force a move for Jerry. It's you got to force
Mhm.
something in there, just like kind of like you turn off the burners at the buffet,
Yes.
for McCarthy, and it lights a little bit of a
Yeah.
fire under him, and to
Yeah.
coach a bit better. But I guess not. And then, hey, speaking of the Cowboys, though,
Hmm.
Cooper Rush, I guess he was up for a bonus, a playing
Hmm.
bonus, this
I
past
saw
week.
that.
And they did end up playing Trey. And I know you kind of prefaced that they might be playing Trey, and it's maybe a game we talk about. Trey looked okay, I guess.
Yeah, he was
Um,
okay.
but shout out Trey. We always do a shout
You
out
gotta
for
do
him.
it.
But in that predicament, Jerry played dumb and acted like he didn't know about that. But if he's GM, he knows everything. The guy has to know what these contracts
Hmm.
hold. How much disrespect do you think that is to the player? And how much, I don't know, how dumb does he have to think people are to believe that he didn't know?
I think he's very dumb. I think it's disrespectful not giving him a chance. He's been doing it for him this whole season, pretty much. Dax hasn't done much, and reward the guy, because he most likely will be your backup next year because, Trey isn't, the backup, so I think it's dumb. You can't play dumb. He's being greedy. All these other players, everybody knew what the incentives were. We saw it with Tampa, Baker Mayfield knowing how many yards he needed to give Mike Evans to get that bonus and also get the record, continue on, tying Jerry Rice, right? For consecutive
Yeah.
1,000 yard season. So he
Mhm.
knew, I I think McCarthy went along with it because he wants to keep that buffet open, doesn't want to lose the opportunity because the buffet in Chicago may not be as great as Dallas. So didn't go against, the GM in that moment, but I would have let Cooper Rush go in if it would have cost me my job because, he's done a lot, so unfortunate for him. I think if I was Cooper Rush, I'd find a way out of there because that's just disrespectful and I'm not going to deal with that. That's just messed up.
Yeah, 100%. I think he can be a solid backup anywhere. I mean, he's done
Hmm.
okay, with what he's given.
Hmm.
So yeah, I think that's just, I think it was a poor excuse. It's not
Yeah.
a good precedent set. But yeah,
Yeah.
guess we'll see. I just would
Yeah.
definitely want your input on that because I thought that was
Yeah.
like a stupid statement by Jerry.
Yeah. No,
Not
yeah.
a good GM there. Small
No,
error.
he makes these small errors. I think every GM makes a small error, but you still got to consider them solid, of what they've done.
Yeah, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He's like 806 years old, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's why he'd
He's
be a
up
good
there.
vampire. You're
Yeah.
right.
A very good one.
Yeah.
But yeah, but that's
Yep.
some of our NFL takes, NFL preview. We had some NBA talk, and I think one of the biggest things I want to talk, we've seen this season NBA ratings have been low. We hear it from many people. And JJ Redick had an interview and he shared that he is really blaming
Hmm.
the media for the low NBA ratings. And I think he really went at the inside NBA team, Chuck, that team, Shaq, and, Barkley. Charles Barkley, love his responses, love just how real he is in his content and just in the show, but just responding back and talking, taking down, talking down about the Lakers. I think the funny thing that sort of just made me crack up was Barkley calling the Lakers the ugly girl, that JJ Redick went back to, calling them pigs and, and needing to put makeup on them because the Lakers are still a sorry team, even though JJ Redick thought he was gonna take him to the promised land and he hasn't done shit. So for you, is Redick right? Is Barkley right? Where do you land on this?
For sure, I think it's Barkley all the way. I'm a huge fan of Inside the NBA with
Mhm.
just that Ernie, Shaq, Chuck, and
Kenny.
Kenny. My bad. How can I forget about Kenny? But I think that they are the best part of the NBA,
Mhm.
and I think that they bring entertainment to halftime shows, post games, pre-game. I
Mhm.
think that they bring the old school theatrics with with what we grew up with the NBA,
Mhm.
and I think that they're all great presenters. They know game, they know ball,
Mhm.
they present the game today in a funny way. They're just highly entertaining. I think Chuck's and Shaq's back and forth
Mhm.
always cracks a smile on me.
Hilarious.
I could watch those over and over again. Shaq gets thrown into a Christmas tree every Christmas time, and
Yeah.
I just think it's great for basketball, and I think it's literally the only good thing for it right now. I'd prefer to watch those highlights
Mhm.
of them recapping games than anything else. And I do think JJ, don't get me wrong, I do think he's good for the Lakers
Mhm.
in general, but I just think the game is bad right now. I think the NBA is not in a good spot.
Mhm.
There's blame it on Steph because he does it best. There's way too many threes, and there's a lot
Mhm.
of people taking threes that shouldn't be, and it's taken away from a lot of other aspects of the game. I guess my biggest point of reference for something like this is, putting it in MLB terms as well, where there's no more small ball. It's
Mhm.
all specifically what's your launch angle,
Mhm.
swings, bat speed to get, the ball
Yeah.
out of the park. It's home run or nothing a lot of times. And it takes away from the bunt, stealing bases, things
Yeah.
like that. And yeah, I know we talked about shout out Ricky Henderson. That's what he did great. But going back to the game, it's too many threes. I think refs take away
Mhm.
from the game, absolutely take away from the game. I despise the way NBA games are refed these
Yeah.
days. I think it makes it unwatchable. I'm very adamant about that as well. We talked about we talked about how a couple weeks ago I'm not a big fan of John Morant, but I appreciate his game. I think he's a great
Mhm.
talent. I think he's a ton of fun to watch. But like, I'm pretty moderate on him. But there's like a foul call on him that
Mhm.
it just kind of irked me. I'm like, dude, this is why it's not watchable. The
Mhm.
dude literally just jumps vertically and they called a foul. You can't you can't do so much as stare down a different player.
Mhm.
You can't stare down the bench. You can't stare down a ref and say something very lightheartedly to
Mhm.
them. They'll tee you up for it. Draymond got a flagrant and then a tech shortly after. The tech, I think, was that he was a super amped for making a three ball.
Mhm.
And I guess they took his antics the wrong way. And it's like, dude, we're
Yeah.
not here to watch the refs
Yeah.
ref a game. F the refs. It's just stupid. And the NBA really needs to fix that because I think it takes away from a lot.
Mhm.
And unless I'm going to a live game, I don't have much interest until playoff time or
Mhm.
maybe later in the season to watch. The NBA in season tourney didn't really do it for me this year. It did a little bit more last year. I thought it
Mhm.
was a bit more entertaining.
Yeah.
But Steve Kerr felt really strongly about the refs a lot of
Yeah.
times this year, and in the in-season tourney
Mhm.
because that game was within 2 points against
Mhm.
Houston, and he was arguing with the refs adamantly at the end of that game. He did it a couple
Yeah.
games before that too. I just think the refereeing is garbage. Long story short, there's a lot more to it than just the inside NBA being a
Yeah.
problem. And JJ needs to get that right. And I
Hmm.
think JJ's problem is he's very focused on what JJ's opinion is
Hmm.
and his way or the highway a lot of times. And maybe
Hmm.
that's what makes him a good podcaster. But
Yeah.
yeah, it just ain't it. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I agree. I think Barkley's in the right. I think, the comments he made about the Lakers, I do think they're not the best team. JJ blaming the media. I don't think you can blame the media because the media has nothing to do with the game of basketball. Like you mentioned, everybody's shooting threes. I think that's sort of what's taken away from the game. I enjoyed watching basketball a lot more when it was a lot more physical. I've enjoyed the three ball, don't get me wrong. It's been great for the game, but like you mentioned, just way too many people shooting threes that shouldn't be. So, I I think that's what's hurting the refs. I agree. Hate the refs, some of their calls. I think they just like being the center of attention. Um, I think they could just go with AI being referees, having, these Tesla robots be the referees. They probably would do a lot better job. It'd be a lot more entertaining. Um, and JJ Redick, like you mentioned, he's so hyper focused on being a coach. If we think about his last few years before becoming a coach, he was the media. He was the one talking about the NBA and the struggles. So, it's sort of contradicting of like this is what you used to, the comments you would used to say, and now just because you're in the NBA, you're blaming media when you're not in it anymore. It's like, no, don't be trying to do that stuff. Like that's just it's not cool. But um we'll see if JJ's successful. Like I said, the coaches in LA for the Lakers haven't been successful the last few years. Um I'm not a Laker fan. I'm a Clipper fan. It's even worse for Clipper fans. But like I say, when Lakers are good, it's good for the NBA. So hopefully they could find a way to change it in the next few years. But we'll see. But yeah, I'm on Barkley's side. I think, you know, he got JJ back. I don't think JJ has a comeback for what Barkley said. So
Not at all. And then also, going along with that, a couple more points here. He doesn't have to go much further than his team to see what's maybe wrong with a lot of the
hmm
NBA too. You have a guy like LeBron who, if he's fouled down the floor, that dude's not getting back on defense and he'd rather
mm-mm.
complain with the refs. The refs will
Yeah.
let him get away with it all day, every day because he's
Hmm.
LeBron. But that's not good for the game. You,
Mm-mm.
you have a guy not hustling back down on defense because he'd rather complain about the last offensive
Yeah.
possession. That's not good. Like,
Hmm.
argue about that. And then number two is you hate the media so much, or I guess maybe blaming the media on what the
Hmm.
NBA is. Then why even set up the Bronny James, LeBron James first
Hmm.
game of the season the way you did?
Yeah.
Why do that if you're not want to give into it?
Hmm.
Bronny hardly sees the floor, but
Hmm.
you just so urgently had to get him in there that first game, and
Hmm.
you got a lot of push from the media to do that.
Yeah.
Of course you did. They
Hmm.
they went out and they drafted you way higher than they probably should have, and
Hmm.
why else would you do it?
Yeah.
So JJ really needs to kind of think about who he is as
Yeah.
well. I think that's the reality of things.
Yeah. And media pays for everything, these TV contracts. It's because of media. It's what media has shown about your game. So
Yeah.
it's like if you want to continue with these TV contracts, don't be bashing the media because if they start getting mad at you, they're going to be pulling these contracts. Maybe they'll give it to the WNBA. Maybe they'll give more to the NFL, other sports, maybe they'll do pickleball, that'll get all of the NBA money. You don't know, because you're talking bad about the media. And like I say, media has a lot of power. You could see players, especially professional athletes, some of them get mad at these media personalities. um, I think KD's one person that's always clapping back at the media for what they say about him, but it's like it's what the job is, and like you can say, we're sort of media. It's what our job is. We're gonna cause some controversy and call stuff out the way it is and the way we see it. So if you don't like it, suck it up. It's part of it.
Straight up. That's exactly what it is. And it's the sole reason why we're literally talking about a guy like Shea Gilgeous-Alexander,
Hmm.
who's probably going to be up near $80 million a season
Yes.
coming
Yeah.
up on his next contract.
Yeah.
It's that's where the money comes from. So
Hmm.
don't bite the hand that feeds you, JJ.
Yeah.
Be careful,
Because
dude. Like
we'll take it.
that's
We'll take it back.
yeah, exactly. Absolutely they will.
Yeah.
So, and especially with where they see ratings are going. I
Hmm.
mean, that's another big emphasis for you,
Hmm.
JJ, is, you say ratings are down. Why would they want to invest so much?
Hmm.
Put it somewhere else.
Yeah.
A lot of people want to see Otani. Say what you want about the Dodgers, they're bringing talent from overseas that
Hmm.
people want to see. They're
Hmm.
making baseball fun again. I'm saying that as a Giants fan. Like
Hmm.
the talent that they're putting on the field is
Hmm.
making baseball enjoyable. The Yankees did the same thing this
Hmm.
past year. They made baseball enjoyable because you kind of want your villains in there.
Hmm.
The Dodgers evidently are in the works of a deal with Jesus Christ. I saw
Hey,
that video today.
you'll see
You
that.
know, it's
Once you see that happen, you know it's for real.
yeah, absolutely. So, but long story short, it's there's other places to put the money.
Hmm.
And, it's if NBA is going down, they'll find a new little toy to play with.
Hmm.
And whether that's the AFL, UFL, XFL, whatever it is,
XFL,
you know,
whatever. Yeah.
XFL, put it in there. So
Hmm.
we'll see.
Yeah. No, yeah, for sure.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's a little bit about the NBA take. I don't think there's much action. Like I said, the only NBA I watch is because of parlay bets and these bets I have, this little money. So after that, not too interested. Only like you mentioned, if I go to a live game, I'd be very stoked. It's just a fun
Hmm.
environment. But after that, don't be blaming the media for this stuff because media makes, your sport entertaining and puts eyes on you. Just like I think our next topic, Michael Parson and his podcast, very popular podcast. I think it's listened to by a lot of people, including myself. I've heard it a lot, hear a lot of the takes, but there
Hmm.
are two takes this past week that sort of had me talking, and what I will say about Michael Parsons' podcast, a lot of his takes have me talking, and I don't know why. I don't know if I just disagree with Michael Parsons, enjoy his game, but his podcasting, I have things to say. And the first one, um, saying he's not blaming Tyreek for wanting out of Miami. He thinks he's in the right. And then Michael Parsons goes on to say that, a lot of coaches leave for better opportunities, but for me, I disagree with that statement. I don't know. What do you think, Tim?
Yeah, I starting off with the Tyreek situation, we kind of talked a bit about this pre-pod. I think that Tyreek can want out all he wants.
Hmm.
He left the Chiefs for money. He got the money in Miami,
Hmm.
but you want out again because you're not winning. You should have just stayed with the Chiefs, but
Yeah.
that's
Hmm.
reality. I mean, look what they're doing without you.
Yeah.
Train kept going. It wasn't a
Yep.
problem for Mahomes or Kelsey.
Yeah.
Literally kept going. So, Tyreek, maybe you're kind of looked at as being a bit overrated based off of
Hmm.
your speed. Maybe that's just kind of where the eyes are. Let's see what happens when that speed's
Hmm.
down and you're coverable based off of your
Yeah.
height. So, that's another big talking point,
Hmm.
and we'll see who wants you. I guess if you want
Hmm.
out of Miami, let's see who kind of bites the bullet with you going there. So, in kind of with I guess talking about coaching opportunities. They do typically, I feel like once you're in the NFL, you're not really leaving one job for another, I feel like. I feel
Hmm.
like typically that's, in college, you
Yeah.
coach D3 to D1,
Hmm.
and you take something that's better for yourself and your family.
Hmm.
Um, you take your stab at the NFL. A lot of people kind of see that's where you kind of want to succeed a lot,
Hmm.
unless you're a guy like Kirby Smart or Nick Saban was for
Yeah.
years, where you're getting paid equal, and you have more leverage.
Yeah.
I guess now until NIL, of course.
Hmm.
But In the NFL, yeah, you're not really jumping ship too often.
Mhm.
If you are, it's because you were fired.
Yeah.
Because any role in the NFL is the NFL. There's nothing higher.
Hmm.
So you're one out of 32 people in the entire world who
Yeah.
gets a chance to coach an NFL team. I think you're doing everything possible to stay there, unless you're
Hmm.
so good that you're getting different money and but that just doesn't really happen. So I
Yeah.
think Micah is kind of talking out of his rear end there a bit. And you know, I think that maybe he knows something's coming with
Mhm.
Dallas with this McCarthy thing.
Yeah.
Um, and kind of just the possibility of McCarthy leaving, that nothing there is
Hmm.
even legit. I just think that the only reason why McCarthy would probably be smart to do that is you work under a guy like Jerry's kind of a bit of a loose cannon, probably.
Yeah.
So, you never know. But yeah, I don't I think he's kind of off base with that suggestion there. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I totally agree and with a lot of your points, when he says coaches leave for a better opportunity, what's a better opportunity than the NFL? And in the NFL, like you mentioned, 32 teams, the better opportunities, those opportunities are never going to be available until that coach gets fired. Like I say, Kansas City, Pittsburgh, the Ravens, San Francisco, those are better opportunities. You're not going to see, you know, Antonio Pierce leave the Raiders to go to Carolina. That is that really a better opportunity? No, you're gonna stay in Las Vegas because that's the best option you have. So, him saying coaches leave for better opportunities. College coaches, yes, you go D3, you want to go to D1. You want to be coaching in Alabama, Auburn, these big schools. But once you make it to the NFL, you're just happy you're in the NFL. Mike McCarthy leaving for the Bears, if that becomes true, is that really a better opportunity? I have my doubts it is, but it's an opportunity where he's going to get paid. So him saying they're leaving for a better opportunity, I think it's cap. I think he's, like I say, he might just be trying to start conversations and we're having these conversations, but like I say, sometimes his takes are just so outlandish and I'm like, do you really think about what you're saying, before you say it? Because that one just doesn't make sense to me because I've never, and correct me, Tim or any of our listeners that listen to this, correct me if I'm wrong, but I've never seen a coach leave the NFL for a better opportunity in the NFL. They've all either been fired or they've all just been fired pretty much.
Pretty much. Yeah. And I guess the most relatable thing I can think of is maybe like Harbaugh leaving to go to Michigan, but
Hmm.
maybe the writing was kind of on the wall there
Hmm.
regardless. So,
Yeah.
he kind of took an opportunity and ran with it, and
Hmm.
obviously it ended up being a success. And guess what? He's back in the NFL again.
Hmm.
It's like it's
Yeah.
sometimes if coaches don't see success in the NFL and
Hmm.
they know it's going to be there and they can't really turn it around based off of what it is, they'll go
Hmm.
back to college, kind of like Nick Saban did.
Yeah.
But he's not hopping team to team because he can.
Hmm.
It's just not how it works.
Yeah.
That the NFL is a different frickin' breed. You
Yeah.
you have a guy like Belichick and all the success he had with New England. Dude couldn't get a job.
Yeah.
He couldn't get a job.
Hmm.
He declined a defensive coordinator position.
Hmm.
He interviewed for the Atlanta position. They passed up on him.
Yeah.
So come on, Micah.
Yeah.
Like it's
Let's
it's
be
a
real.
rare opportunity. Yeah. Like
Yeah.
that's just not it. And that's another point that you bring up here, John, with Tyreek. Um, and he's obviously calling on him, hey, come to Dallas, blah blah blah, because there's no state income tax in Florida either, bud.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, same scenario. And, I'll let you preface your thoughts on it too here, John. But, I know that there's a way that he's trying to obviously recruit and get
Hmm.
things there, but there's just not a whole lot that's enticing about Dallas.
Yeah.
Like, you have a quarterback like Dak who
Hmm.
I don't know. It's like he has his moments and
Mhm.
can put up big games, but then the next game he'll go out and throw for 125 yards and four
Mhm.
picks.
Yep.
The inconsistency is insane. And
Mhm.
then you have a GM like Jerry who I don't know, he's out to lunch half the time and
Mhm.
wanting to be on landman and it's
Yeah.
you don't make any off-season signings. So
Mhm.
I don't know. What do you think, John?
Yeah, I see what he's trying to do, trying to entice Tyreek to come to Dallas. I get it. I think he brought it up a few weeks ago on his podcast. Who doesn't want to play for the Cowboys? Because I think it was Jahmyr Gibbs saying that he was happy Dallas didn't draft him, and you know, Micah Parsons called cap on that, but I call cap on Micah Parsons. I'm like, if I was an NFL player at this moment right now, please
Hmm.
Dallas do not draft me. That's what I would say. And, I think Tyreek's in the same boat right now. Like, why am I going to go to Dallas? Yes, no state income tax, but you get that in Florida. And for the money or not Dax, the money Tyreek has, yeah, it's a lot, but this guy's getting endorsements. He's getting so much more money, not just from his contract. So, you know, are some of these players maybe a little greedy with money? Yes, but I don't think it really makes a difference. State income taxes, yes or no. So I think it's more of the team where he could win. And at the moment, you know, Jerry Jones is a great GM, but not a good GM to have Tyreek at the moment. How to stick with my
Yeah.
take.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. Follow-up question here for you, John, because Mike
Mhm.
has mentioned this once numerous times on his podcast.
Mhm.
Is Dallas still America's team?
No, not at the moment. The Chiefs are America's team. Hate to say it,
Yeah.
Kansas City Chiefs are America's team, and they will keep that crown until Dallas makes some sort of comeback. And they have to win multiple Super Bowls just to dethrone the Chiefs. I don't think the Patriots, who were one of the best franchises for a while under Belichick with all the Super Bowls, that was an America's team because of other reasons. But the Chiefs, they got Patrick Mahomes, Roger Goodell's all over Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. They got Taylor Swift, so I don't know who Dallas has over there in Texas. You know.
Yeah. No, I mean, there's not a whole lot to write home with Dallas. Is
Hmm.
is Dallas? I feel like they're not even top three in America's teams, to be honest with you.
And
I
no.
would probably take the Bills over them. Um, I mean, if the Niners maybe had a better season,
Hmm.
the Niners fan base is huge. The Steelers fan base is humongous.
Yeah.
I would take several teams over
Hmm.
Dallas being America's team at the moment.
Yeah.
And I know Mike is super adamant about that statement of Dallas being America's team, blah, blah,
Hmm.
blah. It just, yeah, I'm with you. It just isn't, at the
No.
moment. There's just nothing there. And
Hmm.
maybe it's something that could come back.
Hmm.
You have Jerry World and everything's bigger
Hmm.
in Texas and I think a guy like Micah
Hmm.
Parsons helps
Yeah.
that team become America's team again, but um it just isn't it right now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
not
I
even for long.
yeah. I don't think it is, and I think Michael Parsons could help get them back there, but I don't think he's gonna do it because they need many years, and I don't think uh, I'm gonna call it now. Michael Parsons is gonna get a better opportunity in the future, and he's gonna leave Dallas. I know he says he wants to stay a Cowboy. Not winning. If they don't win within the next 3 years, have winning seasons, he is going to ask for a trade, and there's going to be a team that's going to pay him great amount of money. He's gonna not care if there's state income tax because he has a popular podcast that he's getting paid for. He's in commercials. Why not make a move to the Steelers that are a better team? Why not make a move if the Chiefs offer you the money? Make a move to the Chiefs while Patrick Mahomes is so hot. Do you think he'll pass that up? I'm going to say no. And he could say right now that he will never leave Dallas. Give him that opportunity. Have the Chiefs offer him that money. He'll go in a heartbeat.
I completely agree. There's going to be a point where he's going to be fed up and he'll want to win. And he'll realize
Hmm.
finally that, Dallas probably isn't it. So,
Yeah.
yeah, no, I completely agree. And I guess going back to the Tyreek thing here, John,
Hmm.
say your Ravens made an offer for Tyreek. Would you want the addition of Tyreek to your team, or do you feel like he's not that important of an asset to get?
I would want him just because I still think our wide receivers, Lamar has done so much with them. But I think having someone like Tyreek and Zay Flowers, two people that could open up the field, it could open up so much for our tight ends. Like I said, we have Likely, we have Andrews, we have Bateman who showed a lot, and there's a lot of great, young wide receivers out this year for the draft. So it could help us a lot. I think it could be game changing. I did say if the Ravens, this is the Ravens last year. I think if we don't win it this year, if we could sign Tyreek, I think we get one more shot to win it.
Hmm.
If we don't do anything, but we could sign Tyreek. I think we get one more shot. I think we got one more year with Derrick Henry. I think Keaton Mitchell will be a big upgrade to help out Derrick Henry, given the breaks next year. But we'll see um, what he wants to do. I think Tyreek's gonna want to go Hollywood, and I see him coming to the Chargers, honestly. Hate to say it.
I could see that too. Yeah, I
Yeah.
could see that too. Just the success of Harbaugh so far, and
Hmm.
Herbert's still young.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the Chargers make a big splash this offseason. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised to see Keenan Allen come back. Sign a guy like Tyreek, go after Higgins.
Hmm.
I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah.
I think it's
I,
gonna be
I
interesting.
Yeah, I think Tyreek's gonna find a quarterback that could throw long, because that's what he's I think
Yep.
missing with Tua. I love Tua as a player. I think he's a great guy, but he didn't have that arm strength like Patrick Mahomes. Lamar Jackson has it. Justin Herbert has it. So I don't think Dak Prescott has that. Or I think he does actually. Dak Prescott could throw
He
a
can, but
pretty
he's pretty wildly inaccurate.
yeah, yeah, I don't think it's as accurate as these other players. So, he's gonna find that quarterback that could get him running in stride 50, 60 yards away to do what Tyreek does, because that's his gimmick. That's his go-to. So we'll see what happens. I wouldn't mind him on the Ravens. Would you mind him on the Niners? Maybe a trade for Debo, a swap.
Oh yeah, yeah. If we could do something like that, yeah, for sure. I don't think that there's. I don't know. I think he borderlines overrated to a certain
Hmm.
point. I hate to say that. I think quarterback makes a big difference for a lot
Hmm.
of players. Um, but as long as the speed is still there and he's looking to do damage with the team and given his whole full effort.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if he's willing to go to LA, he could play in SF too. It's all the same
Hmm.
state. So I think I think it would be a tremendous addition.
Hmm.
Yeah, of course, especially letting go like a guy like Debo who I don't know, slower than molasses these days.
Yeah.
I think that would be a welcome addition. But yeah, no, I'm a big
Mhm.
advocate for that.
Yeah. And then I was going to bring this up earlier, but we moved on a little quicker. But before we go on to the next
Mhm.
topic, your 49ers trades, or not a trade scenario, but quarterback scenario, Brock Purdy, he's going to ask for the big money. I think we've had a lot of comments, people saying he hasn't asked for any money, but we've heard the rumors he wants Dak Prescott money. And it's a tough one to pay. How would you feel if you guys signed Aaron Rodgers, a Cal kid? University of Cal, Aaron
Oh.
Rodgers. Would you be happy or
We're
would you
about
be
10.
cursing the world?
I'd be cursing the world. I just don't think he has it. I think he's not a locker room
Got
presence
it.
to
Yeah.
have. I think if the extracurriculars were normal-ish,
Hmm.
where he's not where he's just not so egotistical.
Hmm.
I guess that's a polite way to put it. I think I think I'd be okay with it. I think I think just in general the ship has sailed on Aaron. I think he really needs to call it a career. Um, but the bigger thing I definitely want to preface is with Brock in general. I'm not a big advocate at all for paying him what he
Hmm.
expects, or at least maybe his agency expects with,
Hmm.
being in the range of Dak Prescott, because I think Dak Prescott is wildly overpaid.
Yeah.
Joe Burrow, uh, uh, um, Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes are the ones who deserve to be top dogs in that
Hmm.
category. Everybody else,
Hmm.
no, probably not even. He shouldn't even really be in the same stratosphere. I think Brock is a 20 to 30 million dollar a year guy.
Yeah.
And that's manageable to the point where we can retain pieces, we can go
Hmm.
out and add more pieces. And we don't have to rely on John Lynch and Shanahan butchering a draft.
Hmm.
Because I'll be honest with you, our drafts haven't been real great. It's been rough.
Hmm.
Pearsall, I will say, has really come along
Hmm.
the last couple weeks, and I'm thrilled to see that, and I'm excited about his future. But yeah, we cannot do this with Brock.
Hmm.
If we do, I think we're gonna live to regret it. I hate to say it. I think that, some of our commenters have brought up the fact of, defenses know how to play him now.
Hmm.
They pick away, the short game and kind of want him to throw the deep ball.
Yeah.
He just doesn't really have it. A lot of times it was, yak yardage or, crossers
Hmm.
where, he's
Yeah.
accurate and relying a lot on the run game.
Hmm.
But yeah, and then we saw it against Detroit. I know I didn't get to really talk about too much on it, and I gave
Hmm.
you some quotes, but we threw way too much. There was a point in the game where, I think you were asking me for more more quotes, and I referenced the fact of we didn't run the ball once
Hmm.
on a certain drive. I think we passed
It,
four
it, it
times
was
out
their
of four
it
or
was their
five out of five.
first drive in the second half, I think. You guys were passing it when
Yeah.
that wasn't your bread and butter the first whole half. Like, what are you guys
No.
doing? Like, you guys look good passing, but it's because you developed that run game, that play action, and when you don't have it, teams know. So that's where I'm like, Shanahan coaching himself out. Who
Yep.
knows?
And he's done that his whole career.
Hmm.
And that's my biggest thing against Shanahan. I know people are so adamant about him, like, if you let him go, like who else are you gonna go get? I don't know, a dude who won't coach himself out of
Hmm.
games. The talent is there and it
Hmm.
speaks volumes for what Kyle's been able to do.
Hmm.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
I just I think that there's a lot to be proven still.
Hmm.
But yeah, no, long story short, no on Rodgers and no on a big contract for Brock.
Yeah. And, we got banter on the rocks out there. We could be potential coaches, GMs, assistant GMs, recruiters, hype men, whatever teams need us, let us know. We're out there for you
Yeah.
guys. But, I know Michigan has a great kicker. I don't know if you guys want to try another third round pick on a Michigan kicker this next year.
Uh, F you, John. Hell no. F that guy. God. I saw a video of I saw a video of Jake Moody like holding a puppy and he was petting him and he's like, "Oh, this is the guy you're mad at." And then everybody's like, "Yeah, that's him." And then they did like the finger emoji like pointing at him like, "Yeah, that's the guy."
That's
It's like, dude,
hilarious.
well, and then I've repeatedly seen reclips of I think you sent me one too, John, of draft day of when we took them and oh yeah, we saw your stuff and we're thrilled to have you and excited for you to come kick some field goals and then
Mhm.
right after that you see a montage of all the misses he has and God, it's so
Just pouring
bad.
more salt in those wounds that you guys have
Oh,
with Jake Moody. Hey,
you're the
his eyebrows
freaking
are on
worst.
point. That fool freaking gets whatever he does. Those eyebrows thick as
That's
hell.
that's where his
Oh
contract goes.
yeah, so I'm guessing it's like $2 million eyebrows.
You're
Yeah.
right. They are perfectly groomed. Mhm.
They are. But yeah, so that's just some NFL, NBA talks. And then next, Tim sort of mentioned it in our teaser on the episode. It's award season, TV, movies. We had the Golden Globes yesterday, Sunday, And I sent a text to Tim because I will say it's something me, Vera, we watch every year. The Golden Globes, the Emmys, the Oscars. It's something we enjoy watching. And Golden Globe season start the show starts it. But one of the new awards the Golden Globes has is it's called the Box Office Achievement. And when I saw it, what it really was, me and Vera laughed. And she had a great comment of what it was, and what she called it was a participation trophy because it goes to the movie that had the best box office when that's not something it makes it's great, but it's not those award season things we're used to. So, and what was funny also, what I told you, Tim, and I saw you sent me the video, Vin Diesel presented it. And if you think about Vin Diesel, great box office achievement with all these ridiculous Fast and Furious movies, which I still watch because I'm just curious. But I think after
Mhm.
the third one, I was sort of, or the fifth one, I think I was checked out with how ridiculous some of their
Yeah.
stunts are. But your thoughts, Tim, on this box office achievement award?
Yeah, I think you have a guy like Vin Diesel presenting it, and Fast Five is where I kind of let off the gas per se
Yeah.
of a lot of these Fast and Furious movies because of how ridiculous it was getting. And it was that fight scene with The Rock where they're punching each other through like brick walls and the
Yes.
favelas of Brazil, and highly entertaining. And then it just got even more ridiculous, with the last movies with John Cena
Mhm.
and everything. But again, I too, I watch out of curiosity, and maybe that's what a lot of this award is you have a lot of popularity with some of
Mhm.
these films, but they're not there as far
Mhm.
as deserving maybe
Mhm.
meaningful awards. I haven't watched it, but because I've heard a lot about it, I need to watch it. Um, Red One with Dwayne The Rock Johnson,
Mhm.
big name. Heard that the movie is atrocious.
Mhm.
It flopped in the box office, did a lot better when it was on Amazon. But I think just curiosity's sake is going to get to me and I need to watch
Yeah.
it. So maybe that's just what this award is about is,
Mhm.
folks that just consistently deliver ratings based off of who they are
Mhm.
and not the quality they put on the screen.
Yeah.
But what do you think, John?
Yeah, I'm the same. Like I say, I saw it as that participation trophy. Um, award, it makes sense because like I enjoy watching a lot of movies, some of them so ridiculous and I'm like, what did I watch? What are they making? But I'm just so curious about it because I did watch Red One in theaters because we like to
Oh,
watch movies and it's The Rock, it's Chris Evans, so it's like let's check it out, funny at times, but story-wise ridiculous. I was like, really? This is the movie they make? And I'm like, well, The Rock's getting quite a few $1 million for it, so why not continue making movies like that? So, it's hilarious. I get why they do it. I think if they did this like 6 years ago when Avengers was coming out, Avengers would be sweeping this every year with all their movies because they always break the records. Um, this year, the winner was Wicked, and I saw Wicked. I'll give it high praise. Really good movie, but compared to these other creative movies that are made, it's n for me, it's not on the same level. Some of these movies that they make the stories that, they're so creative with, it's what really interests me. So that's why, I like watching Golden Globes because I sort of see what's on the horizon for the Oscars. And I will admit, before Golden Globes, I don't watch a lot of movies that are nominated until I see who's nominated. And then I'm like, okay, I want to watch because I want to sort of predict who will win the Oscars. Usually it's the same. Sometimes it changes because a lot changes in about a month. So, it's what I enjoy about it. But yeah, this box office achievement, funny. I cracked up when Vera mentioned participation trophy because I really didn't think of it that way. I was like, oh yeah, it does make sense, you know. They participated, did an amazing job making a lot of money, you know, in the box office, but story-wise, it's something you could go see on Broadway. So, that was my thought on it. I thought it was also funny, Vin Diesel coming out saying what's up to The Rock when he first saw him because of their little hatred that they or supposed hatred that they have. So it was hilarious. I think they set it up that way.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And then it looked like they were pretty close to each other too
Yeah.
when Vin Diesel walked up. Classic. And I kind of appreciate that with Vin kind of taking that little jab.
hmm
He just yeah, he has it in him. He has the
Yeah.
dog in him. He'll do it. I think that's hilarious. And I think it was good
Mhm.
video for sure. Um, but yeah, no, my wife, Jen, she watched Wicked. I didn't see it myself, but she left it. Oftentimes we're listening to the soundtrack in the car, so I definitely am well versed in it. And
Yeah.
um, Ariana Grande with the singer she is, she's incredible. And
Mhm.
she was an actress, on what Disney Channel, I believe, back in
hmm
the day. And she's well
Nickelodeon, I
versed in the
think.
industry. And
Yeah.
oh, Nickelodeon. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so her kind of getting back on screen, I
hmm
think it's great. So yeah, no, I no real surprise with them winning it. And musicals I think do really well at times. So yeah, I guess
Yeah.
maybe it's not a musical, but there's a lot of music in it. So
Yeah. Like I said, it was a good movie. I can see why they won the award. Um,
mm,
they did break box office records from what I heard. So like I say, it makes sense, but like compared to what this award season is, having something just that breaks records at the box office doesn't really do it for me, but I'll be interested to see what these next few years bring if people still like it. Um, but overall, like I say, my thought on award season, I enjoy this time of the year starting in January because, like I say, it makes me watch more movies, movies I haven't really heard of, TV shows I haven't heard of. Like I say, Landman, if you guys haven't been watching, I would suggest watching it. I've enjoyed it. It's on Paramount Plus. I think the other plug, Silo on Apple TV. If you guys haven't watched that, that's another show I've really enjoyed watching, you know. So, award season really brings a lot of this stuff to me of like, okay, I want to watch that because I've heard of it, never been too interested, but now seeing them winning things. Shogun, I think our buddy Danny mentioned watching that really good show. That one won a lot, so
mm,
it it's a great time if you're not really into movies, TVs, and sort of want to see what's popular, what people are liking. Go ahead and watch them. Sometimes you won't like the movies at all just because they're not your cup of tea. But like I say, what I look forward to is just the story, the cinematography. One movie, I don't know if you're a horror fan, Tim, but Nosferatu, enjoy that
mhm.
movie. That's a great, scary movie, a
Okay.
little disturbing, but the way
Yep.
it was shot, I truly enjoyed that movie.
Okay, yeah. I saw some previews and I think the one I actually started laughing in because it had like a lot of moaning in it for some
Oh yeah,
reason.
it does.
And
It's hilarious. It like
uh,
catches you off guard, but the
right,
story,
right.
the cinematography, the way the movie looks, it's amazing.
Yeah, yeah. I forget where it was, but I feel like I saw like there's like some comedy skit show where they'd always be like Nosferatu, and then like they would
Yeah.
like peel towards him, and he'd just be like creeping in a corner or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I feel like that would be a show I definitely would like to get into. I'm a big fan of horror films. I think that they're
Mhm.
the suspense
Mhm.
and just how much it keeps me like interested in what I'm
Yeah.
watching is it's a big deal.
hmm
I know that yesterday I was sending you endless clips of, horror games that we should
hmm
be thinking about maybe streaming and
Yeah.
getting into. So shout out that, that's something we might be working on here coming
hmm
up. But um in general, I'll definitely give it a go. Just even from, I know, let alone the moaning and everything, the
Hmm.
theatrics and the filming of it looks like it would be a good film.
Hmm.
I was a really big fan of I don't know why, but like just kind of relating like maybe dark plays to something. I was a really big fan of The Black Swan when that
Hmm.
first came
That
out.
was a good one.
I thought that was super suspenseful. It was dark. Natalie Portman was phenomenal in that
Hmm.
film. And I remember we watched it on a premiere at the ArcLight Theater in Hollywood.
In Hollywood. Okay.
So there was like even like a presentation
Hmm.
prior to it, and it was a really big deal. So y yeah, the suspenseful, even if they're not really like horror type films, but maybe more on
Yeah.
the suspenseful side, I I do really enjoy them because they keep me super
Hmm.
intrigued and they're just they can be a really good watch. I
Yeah.
prefer stuff like that versus like I don't I'm interested in gore to an extent, but like I don't know, there's some films out there that's just too much, and I'm like,
Yeah.
dude, give me a break.
Yeah.
So yeah, overall,
Nice. Yeah.
definitely give it a go.
But yeah, that's Golden Globes, just touch on a little bit because we enjoy watching movies, TV shows. I think we're used to a lot of the more kiddie stuff with our kiddos,
Mm.
when we get the chance, we
Oh
watch
yeah.
stuff that for us. But yeah, overall, like I said, this is for me, it's a fun season. I know not many people enjoy it. There's always controversy with all these award shows, but it's something Vera and we've been doing ever since we've been together. So it's something we continue. Yesterday we had to play it on a tablet because Keanu was watching his TV show on the big TV, so had to put it on a tablet while we were hanging out with him. But hey, still did it. We did it as a family, you could say.
Hey, that's just the way you got to do it. I'm with you. I've been trying to get into the Skeleton Crew on
Mm, Disney.
Disney Plus. I just love Star Wars so much,
Hmm.
and I was such an avid watcher of everything Mandalorian, and I feel like this is just a small little teaser of what that show was. So,
Yeah.
me being able to watch something like this, I was on my phone watching it with headphones, and
Hmm.
the kids had Paw Patrol
Yeah.
on the TV. So, it's sacrificed. They've
Yeah.
seen Paw Patrol 15 times in the last 5 days, but I let them have that and I'll have my small
Yeah.
little
Yeah.
phone.
No, for sure.
I'm with you.
Yeah. But yeah, that's Golden Globes, movies, TVs. Like I said, any movies you guys have seen, any recommendations of award, nominees, let us know. Let us know what you think, what you like, what you don't like. We'll take a look for it ourselves. I think we all have different tastes, different likes. So, it's to everybody's liking and just thoughts. So, always a fun time. And, I think we're going on like almost 2 hours of the episode. And I think one thing I sort of want to touch on, and I don't want to talk about it too much just because there isn't much info, but with a lot of the news going on, Fox Sports One, a lot of the Joe Taylor, what's going on there with, Skip Bayless, you know, who, Emmanuel Echo, whatever, and, a lot of these are
Mhm.
still, I think I'm waiting for a lot more information before I start making decisions about what's going on. Hearing a lot of people, talk about it, but I think the one thing I want to say with that, like, if a lot of this is true, it's really gonna hurt. I think in my mind, it's gonna hurt the sports media world, and also I think for a lot of the female broadcasters that have put in a lot of work because now there's gonna be, I think, a lot of questions coming up if everything that they're saying is actually true. Because if you think of Joy Taylor, she's been successful the last few years. She's someone that's a big name as a female sports broadcaster. So I'm curious to see. Like I said, I don't think I want to talk about it too much because there's not much information other than these rumors, these allegations, and I think we're both sort of waiting to see and hear more.
Yeah, I know we talked a lot about this before we jumped on, John,
Yeah.
and my FYP is absolutely flooded
Yeah.
with this. I didn't even really ask for it. I watched one clip in full, and then that just turned into just endless rounds. I'm not turning an eye to it. I'm watching them. I'm watching them all.
Hmm.
I want to gather as much info on it as possible because I completely agree. I think that having women's broadcaster in sports is incredible.
Hmm.
I think it's great. I think it's diversifying the industry and it needs to be that way. And but a big thing in the sports world is credibility as well.
Hmm.
And if there's a situation like this going on, it kind of it it hurts the name of
Hmm.
the commentator, the broadcaster. We've seen it all the time where people lose
Hmm.
jobs over an email that they dug out five
Hmm.
years ago or 10
Yep.
years ago, whatever it is. For example, John Gruden. Now he's getting his
Hmm.
way back into the industry, and I think he was a great addition for,
Hmm.
Barstool because he's entertaining. Do I agree with what he said? No, but he knows ball.
Hmm.
And I think he's good for TV and stuff like that. So
Yeah.
it's a bummer whenever you see certain things come about.
Hmm.
And you see stuff like this. I know Joy Taylor's name from I know that she's Jason Taylor's
Hmm.
sister, I believe.
Yeah.
And I always used to listen to Colin Cowherd
Hmm.
in part of my day when I was either commuting to work or happened to be in the
Hmm.
car during work, whatever it was. But because he's big in LA. And she was kind of like the right hand person to
Hmm.
call in during those times. And that's just kind of where I got familiarity with her. And she always seemed fine,
Yeah.
presentable. Kind of just didn't really bat an eye at anything out of the ordinary for sure.
Hmm.
But you're kind of reading into a lot of what this says, and then you have a guy like Emmanuel
I,
Acho. I
so yeah,
forget his
something like
name.
that. Yeah.
He had that video of her of being very supportive of her,
Hmm.
and you hear some of the allegations of what's going on, then he takes down the video.
Hmm.
It's
Not
not,
a good look.
you kind of read in
Yeah.
you read into it.
Yeah.
So, stuff like that. But again, it comes down to credibility, and then
Hmm.
stuff like that can hurt your credibility a bit.
Yeah.
So I'm with you, John. There's not a whole lot out there.
Hmm.
And, of course you kind of hope it's not totally factual and true, and it's
Hmm.
just a lot of people looking into a report, blah blah blah. But
Yeah.
it's something that we'll be keeping an eye on, and
Hmm.
if it's something that maybe we'll continue to talk about and see what's going on with it. But
Yeah.
definitely gaining a lot of news, and
Hmm.
you hear what Skip,
Yeah.
but it offers no offers that were out there, and that's
Yeah.
interesting stuff. So
Yeah. Yeah. So some of the
yeah.
stuff there, I'm just like, man, this is intense. And then seeing some of the videos she's had in the past, sort of talking about like stuff like this, but not really saying this happened. I saw Marcellus Wiley sort of comment on it today because I think he lost a show due to this new, show with Emmanuel Echo, Joe Taylor, and I think it's also Shady McCoy, a show he used to,
Mm.
have. So sort of, seeing how it affects that, and like I say, it's their credibility, it's Fox Sports One's credibility. What's going to happen to Fox Sports One if all of this is true? Because even though they're not the biggest name in sports entertainment, they're a popular one. They have a lot of sports, broadcasting college games, basketball games, you know, and is it going to affect people, wanting to be part of Fox? And like I said, just overall, like I said, with Joe Taylor being a female, I my concern is going to affect a lot of female, sports broadcasters, commentators' credibility because now people are going to question, like, okay, this is how Joe Taylor became a big name. How did everybody else become a big name? And I hate to say it, but it is something people are going to question, and it's unfortunate for some of these, females that have worked hard to just break through, in this tough sports entertainment world.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm completely there
Mhm.
with you. It's a bummer to see, and then you kind of see like other commentators that maybe have a falling out because of stuff like
Mhm.
this. Like they aren't gained opportunities because
Mhm.
of something, you know, like this. Like you bring up Marcellus Wiley.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a really big fan of his. I
Yeah.
think that he's great um, on TV and radio. I'm a huge fan of his.
Mhm.
A big part of I used to commute from Ventura County all the way up to Santa Barbara, and on my drives back home, Max and Marcellus was always on, and I
Amazing
would
show.
always turn them on. It was a great show.
Yeah.
Them two together were phenomenal, and they absolutely need to bring him back because Max, I don't know if he's doing too much these days. I know he had some
Mm.
wild takes with Andre Iguodala,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I think he got caught in maybe becoming too much of a hot take guy. Um, but again, but that doesn't take away from them being good at what they do.
Hmm.
That was a great show. So, that's a bummer aspect to it all. And, it's there's so many great female commentators out there, that bring a lot to excuse me, sports in general.
Hmm.
Whenever sometimes during the season, I'll listen to, Fantasy Focus, I believe,
Hmm.
with Field Yates and the ESPN crew. And
Hmm.
Mina Kimes is on there,
Yeah.
a lot of the times. And I think she's great.
Hmm.
I think
Great
she's very
takes.
knowledgeable. And
Hmm.
yeah, um, yeah, I know it's a different company and everything, but it's hopefully a lot of it's not true, and you
Hmm.
can kind of move on from it. But if it is,
Yeah.
we'll certainly be more into it, I suppose.
Yeah. So yeah, well, something I want to bring up just because it is a popular topic. We'll keep an eye on it, sort of see what comes out of this, the fallout, because I don't think it's going away anytime soon. And, we'll continue just giving our takes, our thoughts on it. It's just because we do, with our show, we talk sports, we talk entertainment, movies, TV shows, theme parks, a lot of stuff. So, and sports are a big thing we really enjoy. So, something we'll talk about, one more time.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, we'll try to make a little bit more time for it should more info come out, and
Yeah.
kind of go from there.
Yeah. But yeah, that's our episode today. Thank you to all our subscribers, listeners. Really appreciate everybody always checking in, listening to us, here on YouTube and also on Apple Podcasts. If you guys aren't subscribed, please subscribe. Comments, there's been a lot of comments on our YouTube, also on our clips on our social medias. We really appreciate it. We enjoyed the engagement, the conversations we have. And like I said, let us know if there's any topics, call us out on some of our takes. Like I say, we know some of our takes are outlandish and we understand that, and that's why we do it. But we do believe some of these, Jerry Jones, best GM. No, I'm not gonna say best, a great GM. You know, I think a lot of
Yeah,
Cowboy fans may agree with it. Some may not, but hey, that's the take.
absolutely. Yeah, it's we find something out new today, and I think Jerry Jones is a great actor.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
absolutely, it's
Yeah,
great,
but yeah,
great
if you
stuff.
guys ever want to come be part of the podcast, mention it. That's I think one of our goals for this next year, having more guests, more unique guests, collabing with a lot of these other content creators. If you guys are interested in collabing, hit us up. Let's have some conversations and see how we can make something happen. But, we appreciate everybody, tuning in, the support, and we'll see everybody next week.